Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and it is a new year that we're a quarter of the way done with already, but nonetheless, I have a new project for the year, a CT70. That's right, I got a CT70 finally. It was one of these things that I've actually wanted for quite a while, about a year and a half, 2 years at this point. Of course, when I wanted to have a CT70, that was when the used market was absolutely insane for motorcycles, and particularly these types of bikes. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was just the boredom of the pandemic or that plus the rest of the market going up like crazy or some particular auctions, but CT70s were just insanely overpriced. Normally when you'd see these bikes previously, they were like 500 bucks up to maybe 1500 bucks for a good decent running shape bike, but now you see things like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for some of these things. I knew I was never going to pay those prices and didn't want to, so I had to wait, I had to be patient, and finally found one of these. In fact, I found someone that was selling 2 of these, so I had my pick between the 2 and decided on this one. In fact, I've done quite a bit to this already, so allow me to catch you up on what I've done so far. So let's actually start with what I have removed from this bike. A lot has been removed because a lot of it needed to get out of there. I have replaced the shocks, the forks, the hub, handlebars, carburetor, tires, and a bunch of other little things already to get this in working order. So I don't think I mentioned this, but it is a 1982 CT70. So it has been painted and it was actually done pretty well. I like this color really. It's got this very nice dark silver. Everything's been painted from what I can tell in a pretty good shape. The frame, the headlight bucket, the fenders, and the hubs and the rims are all this dark silver, which is actually really nice. Although I have to say the decals could be better. Someone went with the carbon fiber look and it didn't last very long, so this is not going to stay. But more information on this, the engine is swapped, so this is not the CT70 original engine, obviously. The CT70 frames are very friendly to engine swaps. They're pretty universal and you can slap just about anything you want in there. Usually people will go with a 125. You can go up to a 190 if you're really crazy. I think I've even seen 212s, but this is a Lifan 140cc, kind of right in the middle there. It is a manual, so it doesn't have the semi-automatic clutch. It has 4 gears, I think, but in either case, it has a clutch lever, so that's what we're working with here. So this should actually be pretty fast for what it is and should be a nice little cruiser. But anyway, a little bit more on the condition of this bike when I bought it. So this had obviously spent its time outside in the condition that I received it. It was definitely a victim of the California storms that we've seen over the last couple of months. So when I bought it, the throttle would absolutely not move at all. It was completely stuck. The entire carburetor was absolutely just destroyed. The throttle tube didn't work. It was completely stuck. The float was completely stuck. The float needle was completely stuck. The main jet was completely stuck. Everything in there was just absolutely beyond repair. But thankfully the carburetors on these Chinese bikes are ridiculously cheap. In fact, I got a full kit, including the intake, on Amazon for 30 bucks. I'll link all that stuff in the description below. But while I was getting all that sorted out, I also made sure that I had the other 2 components that you need in order to make an engine run, which is your compression and your spark. So when I bought the bike, I made sure that I turned it over. It had really good compression and even tested so with a compression tester. I also took out the spark plug and kicked it over a few times with the key on to make sure that I was getting that spark, that the coil was all good. So I knew once I had a carb on it, it would run. In addition to making sure that it ran good, I wanted to make sure that it handled good, and that is replacement of the suspension completely, front and rear. I imagine it had the original suspension on it because it was nothing but spring and pretty much collapsed under any form of weight. So everything has been replaced, as I said. In the front here, we had a full kit. In fact, the full kit came with a disc conversion too. I got that from Bart Moto Co. And in the rears, I went with a kind of OEM Plus looking replacement with the chrome look there, but it has stiffer springs it is kind of designed to have more of an adult on the bike rather than a kid on the bike. So right now it feels a lot better, a lot stiffer, and will definitely handle my weight. And to go along with handling, I replaced the rubber. The rubber that was on this was really small for what it was and hard as rocks. Those tires were date coded on something like 2015. They were that old. Definitely unsafe for road use. So I got what was the most affordable that I could find on Amazon, and these are Dunlop K180s, which are kind of like a hybrid tire. They are not exactly an off-road tire, a lot more street oriented, but they still have these really cool knobbies that almost make it look like a dirt tracker. Moving up to the controls and also going with the kind of dirt tracker style, I did some recycling right here. So this is actually the handlebars for that. So I pretty much just replaced them with what I had laying around, and I think this actually complements it pretty well. I did trim off about an inch or so, an inch and a half off of these because I didn't need them to be that wide for what I had here, and I think they fit the bike pretty perfectly and kind of going along with this dirt tracker look. Moving down just a little bit, a few other things that I've done is just a refresh on some of the original components, like the headlight bracket here that definitely needed a repaint. As I said, this thing was sitting out for a long time and was very subject to surface rust. So a lot of things were just really crusty, rusty, faded, and just needed a refresh. So all of that has been sanded, primed, and painted. Although there's a few things here, obviously you can see the horn right here is untouched and definitely needs to be replaced, but that's just the kind of condition that this thing was in originally when I got the bike. Let's see a few other things. So with the throttle tube being as crusty as it was, this whole thing is a new replacement, again found on Amazon. A lot of this stuff was found on Amazon for pretty cheap, so in the links down below you could probably source out your own CT70 entirely, really, but this one is in a much better shape, nice and solid and snappy. Let's see, moving down here, I also replaced the kicker. The original one was pretty much the exact same design as you see here. The only difference was the old one had probably been kicked a little bit too hard, and some of these stops right here were shaved off or just worn so badly that when this was out, it was actually going really far down, like 45 degrees more, and trying to give it pressure in order to actually kick it over. It was really uncomfortable to do that, so a quick, easy replacement there. And finally, what I have finished up already is the drive components. So I have a brand new sprocket right here. This is a stock size 35 on a brand new chain, a 420 size chain, and I have a brand new sprocket down there, the front sprocket there, that's a 16 tooth. So anyway, that is a quick introduction of the CT70 project and what I've done so far. Obviously there's a lot more left to do, and I think the first thing that I need to address now is the electronics. This has a 12 volt conversion. It looks like it has all the components that are there, but for whatever reason, nothing turns on. There's no headlight, there's no tail light. The only thing that works is the horn, which is kind of odd. So I'm hoping that it's something as simple as plugging it in and getting actual current going through the system, but we will figure that out. Maybe that will be another video. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you next time.